I go through this, I want to say this. Please make sure that the marriage that you have entered into is true, is genuine, and is not a fake marriage. All right, Royals. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what a bona fide marriage is. I've done a video talking about what a bona fide marriage is, or a legitimate marriage is, or how you can prove that if you are living overseas. And so if both you and your spouse don't live together in the same household, there are a couple of documents or list of documents that you can use to prove that your marriage is bona fide or legitimate. Now, if you live together, wherever you live together as a couple, there are a list of documents, especially more specifically here in America. If you two live here in America, then there are things here in America that proves true legitimacy of a relationship or of a marriage. And so those documents are the ones that I'm going to go through. If you don't live together and one lives overseas, I have another video that you can look at. So let's get into this one. All right, awesome. And I do have a list here because I like to make a list to make sure that when I'm covering it and I'm discussing it, I'm not missing something. Again, I am not an immigration lawyer, so whatever documents that I present here, there is nothing like too many documents in immigration. Then I'm going to return some to you to say, well, you're proving way too much that your marriage is a true one. That they will not do that. So again, I'm not an immigration lawyer. Do not take my everything I say for it. Awesome. Now let's go through the list of the documents. I have covered this before in some of my videos, but I still do get a lot of questions talking about how to prove a bona fide marriage. So I'm still going to go through it again. It's okay. I watched 700 videos before I went through mine, and so there is nothing like too much information when you're going through the immigration process. All right, let's get through first. Before I go through this, I want to say this. Please make sure that the marriage that you have entered into is true, is genuine, and is not a fake marriage just to get the paperwork, because this is a lot of you that you're putting on the line, and it's not worth risking it if you know that the marriage is not true. All right, let's get into it. So again, don't quote me on this, but USCIS in more ways than one just assumes that any marriage that is less than 2 years is actually not a bona fide marriage. Again, this is not a legal advice, but that's why when you get the 2-year green card, is a conditional green card. It's not a permanent one, because it's on condition that your marriage still stays legitimate after the 2 years, if it makes sense. And then after your 2 years, you can file to take off your conditional residency and then get a permanent residency. So just think about it in that perspective. So automatically every marriage that's under 2 years is going to be assumed to not be a marriage that is true. So the onus is on you, the burden is on you to prove that this marriage is really true, even though you are filing within 2 years of being together with your spouse. Awesome. Meaning there is more documentation that is required of you, and sometimes there is less you can give because you really have only been together for less than 2 years in terms of the marriage that you two are in. Awesome. The first thing that we're going to focus on is any proof that you live together. The first one is going to be your lease or your mortgage. So if you two have rented an apartment together, or you two have rented rented a house together, wherever your accommodation is, you need to have your spouse on that lease. Now, a lot of people, you might have already rented the place before you got married, and so you were like, if I go add my wife or my husband to it, then they're going to charge me more because now we are 2 people on paper that we live in the house, and this and that and the third. I'm not here to tell you what you have to do. I'm just here to let you know how the process works in more ways than one. So if it's going to be a financial burden on you to prove that your marriage is legitimate, then you may have to find other ways to prove that. But living together is one of the major things that immigration actually looks for to make sure that your marriage is legitimate. Okay, now your bills. If sometimes, and so I'm going to use my husband and I in our situation. So part of the bills was just in his name at the time that we got married. And so when we got married, we were able to merge some of them, but some of them we weren't able to merge. So this is what we do. One of the companies for our internet, we called them and then we told them that, hey, we need he needs a spouse on his bill as well. And they said what they can do is systematically they can state in there that I am the second contact person or the second emergency person that they can reach out to should anything happen on the bill, because the way they had it set up, they couldn't add me, but they could put a note in there that said that I had equal access to the account just as my husband. And so when they put that clause on there, they sent us a mail to say that this person has access to the account as well. And so when we filed our paperwork, we added that to it as well. So sometimes your name might not physically show on the bill, but there is other documentation that can prove that both of you live together. It's really, really, really important that you are sharing this type of information to make sure that it makes the journey easier for you, if it makes sense. Awesome. And then bank account information. So again, my husband already lived here when I got here, so obviously his bank accounts did not include me, but we opened one together as a spouse, and that was the account that we put in all of our bills and all of the good stuff. We pay through that. And so when we opened it, at that time I didn't even have my green card, it was just my passport that I had, so the bank was able to use my passport to open it. I will encourage you, do your research. If one bank says they don't open for non-immigrants, try another bank, try another, and another, and another, and another. Do not give up. This is your lifeline. This is the person you've chose to move your life for. And so if it's these paperwork that you have to do, this extra work, be on the phone, calling banks, calling this and that and the third, make sure you're putting in that effort. And I know we all live here, most of us that live here in America that are going through it, I know this journey is not easy. So let's make sure that we are putting our best foot forward and making sure we are crossing our T's and dotting our I's. I always say the other way. So another thing too is your spouse's life insurance. If your spouse already may have had life insurance before you came, all they have to do is go back to their company and tell them, I need to add a beneficiary to it. Typically, it's very, very easy. It's an online process where they can go into their account with whichever company that they work for and add the beneficiary to it. HR is always there to assist. If your husband or your wife doesn't know how to do it, too easy. Walk up to the human resource office and tell them, I got married, I need to add my spouse to my insurance, I need to add my spouse to whatever benefit that I have, so that my spouse will be the next person to contact. You can also put them as emergency contact list. So again, if you don't know how to do it, if your spouse is not aware, just tell them to go to human resource. Human resource is there to assist you in all these processes that you're confused with and how you cannot, you don't know what to do. So let them go to human resource. They are going to have him add you as an emergency contact list. And so if anything happens, you need those documentations to say that I am an emergency contact list. Everybody knows that we are together in that perspective. Okay, awesome, too easy. On to the next. The other thing that I will say, and so when we did our 2-year conditional green card, we did have affidavit of support. I know that is a little bit cheesy, because now you're going to your neighbors to say, can you write a letter so I can give to immigration, so you can tell immigration that I am actually married to my husband. But as cheesy as it sounds, you have to prove to immigration that this your marriage is true. And so if it means asking your best friend to write a letter, if it means asking your mother-in-law to write a letter, or your father-in-law, it means asking your neighbors to write letters to tell immigration that they know you, please do not hesitate. Write that letter and add it to it. The other thing I want to talk about is pictures, pictures, pictures. Pictures speak 1,000 words. I've said this before. My husband is really not somebody who likes to take photos, but the only way immigration would know and be part of the process to understand that you have been together with your spouse is showing them proof of pictures to tell them that you've been together here in parties, in weddings, in gatherings, in just social places where you guys have taken pictures together. So, well, if your spouse hates photos, then till the time you get your citizenship, they have to love photos. Typically, it will take about maybe within a period of 5 years or more. So they have to love taking photos, because you're going to do the same thing when you're doing your 2-year green card. You're going to have still attach photos when you're doing your 10-year green card. Then you're going to attach photos again when you are doing filing your citizenship. And so this photo situation doesn't end until you get your citizenship. That's when you can take photos for your families, but then you don't have to submit it to immigration to prove that you live together. So brace yourself for a long time of photos. Yay. Awesome. On to the next. And the good thing about the photos is when you're adding it to your application, make sure that you're writing the date where it was taken, the purpose of the gathering. And so if you went for a friend's party, you just write party November 25th, this and that, and the 3rd, and then you do that. So make sure, and you don't have to submit your album to immigration. You can just print out the photos. You can always run to a CVS, run to a photo printing place, print it out and write the date and time, Somebody will say, well, I don't remember when I took this photo. I don't remember. Think about a time frame. Now we take photos on our phones. It has timestamps on it, and try to give a backstory to the photos. Also, you can start doing this process gradually, and so you don't have to wait till the date that you're filing. As you get photos, print it out, write the date, print it out, because this is a process. It's not a one-day process where you start and you're done. Too easy. Travel documents. So if you were traveling back and forth to meet your spouse before they came here or after they came here, you guys have been traveling a lot, make sure you're keeping all those travel itineraries. Look through your statements, print all of them out. Again, photos speak 1,000 words. So add the photos of all the trips that you took and kind of give a backstory to all of that good stuff with the pictures as well. Awesome. The other thing that I'm going to say, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form telling anybody what they need to do with their lives. I'm saying that if you have kids together, make sure that you are adding those documentation to it. And so within maybe before you got married, you had a baby, or after you got married, you had a baby, you're filing within that time frame, make sure you add those documentation to it. One thing I'm going to advise you as well is if you're filing through the process and you find out that you're pregnant, add the documentation that says you're pregnant. Yes, the baby has not arrived, but it gives immigration a sense of we are together, we have a baby. If you're in the process of adopting, add those adoption documentation in the process, wherever you're at in the process, add it to it so that you can show immigration, look, we have a legitimate marriage, we are on our way to bringing another family member into our abode. If you have pets, make sure that you have your name. If your spouse had that pet before you got there, make sure they're putting your name on the emergency contact list, and get a copy of those documentation to say we own an animal together and we are both on there as emergency contacts for our pets that we own, which is really phenomenal to show the consistency of you two owning assets and running properties together as well. And then the last thing, and this was not in any order, it was just more so all the documents you can think of to attach to it. If you guys have received cards of you two being invited to places, add all of that. Anything, if it's a Christmas card and a friend sends you and say, hey, Merry Christmas to you and your husband XYZ, add all of that to it. Merry Christmas to you and your wife XYZ. Merry Christmas to you and the kids. Add all of it, because that goes a long way to prove the legitimacy of your marriage. Alright, Royals, this is where I'm going to end. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment section. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be more than happy to talk through it as well.